All right, good evening. You guys come on up here, Pete and Dave and Tony. We're going to jump right in. There's a couple things while these guys are coming up and we're kind of getting set up. First of all, I want to welcome everybody watching by the internet. We're glad you're with us tonight. I know what that feels like, being basically several thousand miles away. Last weekend, we piled up in our room, all of us did, and we got to watch Creed teach, and he did an amazing job. Way to go, Creed. I don't know what you did, but nobody came back tonight. So, no, I'm teasing. But we want to welcome all of you watching by the internet, and we're so glad you're here. We want to share some things with you. We did go down to Dominica, and that's the way you say it. We learned how to say it this week. It's not Dominica, as we were saying before we left. It is Dominica, and it is an incredible place. So we want to share some of the things that we found, we saw, and we did on that trip, and I hope it's a blessing to you. Now, one part of this is, well, hello, Gosses. How are you? Good to have you with us. Oh, and you know what? I want to stop and say happy birthday to a very special person. Miss Lauren, happy birthday to you tonight. Yeah. No, I'm clairvoyant. I just knew that. Of course, your mom told me. So, so anyway, a lot of exciting things going on. And, as we talk, we've been talking about the unashamed, undaunted, unstoppable church. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that we're about to share with you that we saw down in Dominica. And where is Dave? Oh. It's nothing he brought back, I promise. It's nerves. Is that what it is? So anyway, we did a lot of this week. That church there, those people there are amazing. They're amazing, amazing people. And we hope to unpack some of that for you tonight. We went there, I think, thinking we would help them. And I think we could honestly, come on up, Dave. I think all four of us could honestly say that they changed us. They blessed us. They're incredible people. So here's kind of a picture of a little bit of the island there. And we're going to spend a few minutes. You guys got microphones here. Each one of you should have one of those. And we're going to start it out. What I'm going to do, we didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. Yeah, they have to be that bright. Sorry, man. And we did get back just this morning. We got back, I think we landed about 10 o'clock this morning. And we've been going ever since. If you look, all of our eyes are red because we got up yesterday morning at about 7, and we haven't been to bed since then. So just the traveling and stuff has kind of kicked our butts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this over and try to do this from my phone and show you some things that we saw, and we're going to talk about that as we go. These guys are going to pitch in, and we're just going to, and you guys are welcome to ask questions. So if you got a question, feel free to ask. We experienced a lot of stuff. The first thing, I'll let you know, many of you guys have heard while we're switching this over, many of you guys have heard there were bed bugs. Yes, we got bed bugs. And that was quite the interesting thing, wasn't it, Pete? You got to use that. And we went to this first place we stayed, and that was one of the reasons why I wasn't able to post. If you guys were following, is that we were staying in Rosso, which is the capital, and we had internet and power there. But once we discovered we had bed bugs, we needed to move out, and we ended up with a place further out. We woke up the first morning. We were all kind of that little red spots, kind of figure out what they were. Second day was kind of. Third day we get up and Pete looks like he has the measles all over his face, just like this. And we were like, what in the world? Pete goes, guys, Houston, we have a problem. And so we discovered at that point it was time to move ourselves down the road. And we did not bring them home, just one for June. We've already dropped it off at your house. So don't be afraid. So I'm going to throw some things up here and kind of guide. So this is the island that we were on. And if you look down here, Rosso is the capital of Dominica, and is the capital. Now, this kind of looks big, but it's really not that big. We flew in at the airport. It's way up here. That's where you fly in. We flew in like a 34-passenger prop jet, and it's an interesting flight. And we landed. So this side over here is the Atlantic Ocean. So right down here is where the hurricane came from. Came in from this direction. Basically, the eye of the hurricane went directly over this island. So what they experienced is, we learned a lot about hurricanes, and what they could show us is that the hurricane, when it comes over, this was a category, what would be 7 if it went that high. It was category 5. But if you do the math, it's more like a 7. They had sustained 220 plus mile an hour winds for multiple, over 10 hours. What happens when the eye passes over, it gets calm, and then it switches back, and then the wind actually blows the other direction. And they felt the full force of that. So this is Rosso. This is where we started out. And then this is Portsmouth down here. This is another big city, kind of the second biggest city on the island. And we kind of worked back and forth. We did some traveling over to the other side of the island on these mountain roads and things. And these guys will tell you more about the roads as we talk. There's another airport down here, but it's not very big. It's very, very small. It's a very tiny island. If you got in a car and the roads were good enough, you could drive all the way around it in, say, 3-4 hours maybe? Do a whole loop around the island? Be about right? It's not that far. You can actually get here. We went over this road here. When you get to the top, you can actually see both the Atlantic and the Caribbean Oceans at the same time. And so it's a very small island. These people have been mostly overlooked. And the reason they've been overlooked is because, as you'll see, that there were so many islands down in that area that were hit. This is just such a small island that they just kind of didn't get the help that all the other islands were getting. And so we flew in there. So I was going to back up and show you this too, so those of you that may not quite understand where we were. So on Google Maps, basically Florida, and then you come down here, obviously Cuba, and then Puerto Rico, and then Dominican Republic, and then right in here, this area right here is Dominica. And so I can kind of blow that up, and as it goes in, it's going to pop up there, I think. So here comes a little closer. Dominica's here, Barbados, Grenada. So it's all in this chain right here. So as you go back. So if you weren't familiar with where it was, that's kind of where we were. And it's an interesting part of the world, right, guys? So I'll go back, pop this up. So I was going to play this for you to start. If you didn't catch this was kind of us getting started on our journey here. All right. On our first leg. On our first leg. Yeah, we got to get Dave over there. I can't see you. Hey, Dave. Hey, Dave. Say hi. Hey. Facebook? Yeah, pizza. Say hi, Pete. So we're on our first leg here, taking off, be in Dominica sometime at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So here we go. So it was a long flight. It takes a little bit to get down there. There's no easy way, right, guys? I mean, you just can't get there from here. And then this was in Puerto Rico. When we landed in Puerto Rico, this island is, it's American territory. It was pretty devastated as well. You go out, you get on another plane, and then you fly in. And this is where I'll let these guys begin to commentate a little bit. If you guys want to jump in here. We were coming in and we were landing. And talk about what you saw. You guys just jump in there anywhere you want about what you saw and what were your first impressions of when we were coming in over the island like this. All of you can't go at once. So you're going to have to be patient with each other here.
So this has been 6 months since the hurricane hit, and the trees were just stripped. And you could just see in certain areas where the trees are just bare. And it just ripped the branches off. So you could see the force of the hurricane and the damage it did, as we're flying in. And then just flying in on a calm day, the plane was going everywhere trying to land in this mountainous area where we landed in the airport.
And one of the things that we overlooked.
You got to slide it up.
That we overlooked.
It's not on. Help me, June. I don't know anything about this thing. There you go. Now you're on.
So one of the things that we kind of overlooked was how mountainous it was. I think, we knew there was mountains, but until you get there, it's significantly more abrupt, I think, than the rolling hills that you kind of had pictured.
Until you drive.
Until you drive, right? And then you would see these roads that kind of cut across the island like this. And so we actually had the privilege of coming in from the Caribbean side. We didn't know that because the airport...
That wasn't a privilege.
Yeah. But we got to fly over the island as we came over instead of coming in from the Atlantic side and just landing. So we actually kind of got a firsthand view of what was getting to see the devastation. When I talk about devastation, it's going to be hard for us to even portray that to you because you just can't get a sense of it unless you've got your eyes on it. It's huge. It's huge. I mean, you're going to see all these blue tarps, and those are people living under those tarps. Hurricane season is coming up again June 1st, and these people are really, really petrified when it rains, when clouds come in. The children have a lot of PTSD. They're not well because this thing was massive. When Tony says that those trees, they were denuded. I mean, there wasn't a limb, a leaf, anything on these trees following the hurricane. This green island looked like a big rock. It was just taken away. It was gone. This is the airport. It's a German airport, as you notice. Welcome to Dominica. We popped in. Customs was not difficult. In fact, they were very gracious, and the people, if you've been through customs before and you talk to people, you always get that feeling like they're looking at you like, who are you, what's going on? These guys were joking with us. They're happy to have you there. They were very simple to work with, except for Pete. I don't know why it took you forever to get through. Okay. We're like, where's Pete? Oh, you got held up. And I think he was living it up with the guys.
I was conversing.
And so first impression of right on the coming out of the airport is a big food tent where they're bringing in NGOs, non-governmental agencies or organizations. They're bringing food in. They fill these tents up. You can see that's just a big food tent, and they fill it with food, and they bring it out of that for different things on the island. So this was right at the airport there. For those of you that are interested, we did find out there are snakes on the island, but none poisonous. But there's lots of them, boas, but we didn't see any of them. They're boa constrictor kind of snakes. We didn't see any of them, but they do have big, big spiders. Huge spiders. And we saw this spider. It was this, and it's this. Okay, so I got to tell you this. We go into this other hotel, right? And this after we dealt with the bed bugs, we go to this other hotel, and they're like, "Oh, we'd like to see a room," and so they take us up to see this room, and we go in, and this sweet lady, she was first room. It was Dave and I. And so we go in there, and there's this real sweet lady. She's been told to take us up and show us the room. And we walk in, and Dave's the first one in the bathroom, and Dave does it first. He sees this spider that's literally as big as my hand sitting on the counter.
Yeah, it's right on the sink.
And this huge 4-inch cockroach literally runs right in front of it. And Dave's like, no.
I'm not staying here.
I'm not staying here.
Sleep in the car.
And Dave goes out, and he runs out of the room, and the girl's standing there, and I go, come here, walk over here. And so she walks over, and she's like, what? And I said, come in here. And I thought she would just want to know about it. I was just going to point it out and say, this is in there. So she goes in front of me in the door to the bathroom, and I said, I didn't even get spider. She trucked me. She turned around. She's like, oh, she's all over me, running out of the I'm like, you live here. No, we don't do spiders. And so it was so funny. So they don't do spiders there, but there are iguanas on the island and all kinds of fun stuff. It's a rainforest, guys. It's a rainforest. It's a beautiful island. This was a picture that we took from up on top. But you can see down in the valley, do you see all the blue tarps? Those are everywhere. Those are roofs that are gone. You'll look down, you see whole houses that are gone. It is, but this is back toward the Caribbean side. It's a beautiful island, but it has just been ravaged. All right, I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit. These are some of the things that we saw. This is kind of a river, or came down through there. What are we looking at, guys? Tell about the rocks there. One of you go. I'm not going to do all
We
this.
had discussions along the way in several different formats. And the first mountain pass that we went through, going from on the south end through the center of the island, gave us an idea of how much water actually came in the air, in rain form, and then the floodwaters that actually came down. And so we were trying to determine how many of the boulders and how much of the soil that ended up deposited in the river bottoms came from washouts like this. And you can see the boulder on the side. This is just one of, well, there you go. So that would be a river mouth that they have actually cleaned out, and all of those boulders and all the soil on the sides they dug out with excavators. So this is like this every river you come to. And so we were, as you go through those mountain passes, it was, you're just surveying and pondering how devastating, how much water and what kind of force that would have been, because it was just, and in some of these cases there were cars and other vehicles that you just kind of went, huh.
So we're looking at Tony. Show him that one. That was when we were coming back over from that little village where the little boy was.
At the school?
Yeah.
So you can see all the debris and rocks, and obviously these houses, it was different for me being a builder. I expected we'd go over there, and it'd kind of be less concrete, more wood shacks, but there's a lot of concrete here, and they've built a lot of durable houses on the walls, floors, foundations, but the roof are all just wood frame and metal. And a lot of the roofing, the metal was just nailed down. It was a thinner gauge metal. So there were a lot less totally destroyed structures that I kind of imagined in my head. But just about every single structure, the roof was just gone. And where the foundations got torn apart was just from the rocks and the water rushing down the river. So the bottom of the rivers, especially where it was meeting the ocean, right at the bottom, it was just, there was stuff like that. And I would be willing to say that that's not going to change in 2 or 3 years, 5 years. There's so much debris everywhere. There's really no landfill. They've got kind of just piles. And we saw people working on power lines, and there's probably a third of the island that has power. And I would, in my head, 6 months out, I'm thinking there's 2 more years to get power at the entire island, and that's just a Band-Aid. That's not even doing it right. So this, I think, is definitely down the road. Power, there's more priorities. And the other thing with the blue tarps and the roofs, with hurricane season coming, you want to rebuild the house, you want to do it right, but there's got to be a temporary structure that needs to get built just to get a couple more years until you can actually build something. So retarping roofs, things like that, is definitely questions we've had in our minds, if that's something that should be done in the next couple months.
Dave's a car guy, so we'll let him talk about the cars.
Yeah, I mean, there was cars everywhere, from years and years ago, probably the 50s, 60s, that they just set alongside the road. But a lot like this thing here was swept away with the water that came down that river.
It was buried. I don't know.
Yeah.
This car, look at that car just piled in there. That's just where the river came down and just buried it.
There's the river. Look at the house that's hanging off. There's nothing under
It's
it.
just nothing under that house.
It's free.
Hanging out
Yeah.
there.
I would be filling my trousers one.
Yeah. Wow. We need a truck like this.
This is a typical street,
I'd be quite happy.
and they got worse.
And they drive on the wrong side of the road.
Tight of a space.
That is so messed up. If you've never done that, I had never done that. It's my first time driving on the wrong side of the road. So now this is a big riverbed that came through and it wiped out all of this through here.
Look at where the bridge used to be.
There's where the bridge used to be.
Where's the water?
And it just wiped it out.
Under here.
So we're coming over a mountain pass.
They've designed it that the road can be, washed over.
What you see on the side is all these banks. That's just mud that was on these roads. They just came through and they graded the mud off the roads just so they could get the roads open. So they haven't even touched that stuff yet.
I don't know if you guys heard that Australian tour guide voice.
Yeah,
back
the
then.
Australia. So Jared, I'll show you pictures of him in a minute. Jared was with, he was the guy that was driving us around. He is with Marine Reach, and he was our guide. He's only been there about 6 weeks himself, so much of what we saw he had not seen. You can see this is where the water came down the river so high. This building was there. The water was over the top of this, running down this river over this building. I didn't get the other side, I don't think. And all the rocks and debris and everything just washed right into this building right as it came around the corner and just took it out. You would see, because these people lost their homes and stuff, they don't normally bathe in the rivers. This is not really a third world country as you think of it, like Haiti maybe. These people don't typically do this, but they don't have any homes now. Everything they had was washed away. And some of them had some pretty nice homes. But now you just see people everywhere having to take baths in the rivers because they don't have water, they don't have electricity, they don't have a house.
The water was a little less damage for infrastructure. They have about 70% of the island has water. But on that side of the island by the airport to the south is more of the native habitat. They have actually a reserve, they call it, kind of like our Native American reserves. And the Caribs over there were definitely on the poorer side. And so this was a lot more common. And this is right next to the airport. This is literally, you can look out from the airport and see this. So it was a little different over here.
So the first place we landed, some of you guys heard us talking about, maybe we were talking about going over and looking at a possible hotel to convert and maybe become a base of operation. We arrived at that hotel. This picture and the other pictures that I had just can't tell the story. This thing is gone. It's
How much? They spent $50,000-$60,000
on.
this up already.
Yeah, they've spent maybe $50,000 or $60,000 just cleaning it up, and you can't tell. You can't tell. You walk in and you're like, you spent money, and that's a lot of money. The seawall to the right is gone. This is just absolutely a no-go. It isn't going to happen. There's no way. However, there was a cool thing there. This is the hurricane washed up a well skeleton right up into the hotel there. And there it sat, just a big old well head and skeleton, and all that was just laying there. And we thought that was kind of cool. Come out of the ocean. They do get tankers in. These are fuel tankers to bring fuel to the island. The problem they're having right now is there are no supplies. You can't get them. Can't get screws. Can't get wood. A 2x4 here costs what, Dave? You got to use that microphone.
Like $7 there, it's like 20.
Yeah.
So it's 3 times as much.
So 2 to 3 times the cost to do anything there. It's You can't get screws. You can't get wood. You can't get metal. They're trying to find it all over the Caribbean. And yep. What kind of economy is there?
None. Agriculture was back in the late 70s, 45 to 50% of their economy. Tourism picked up another, I think it was somewhere around 6% or 10%.
Yeah, that hotel that was destroyed, they used to do scuba diving and snorkeling trips from there, which was the start of the tourism. Those guys started it. And then there was a couple other resorts around, right?
Yeah, and then they went from that to no economy, basically. Tourism picked up, and the banana trade lost. They grow a lot of their own vegetables and fruits, but they have no meat sources. I mean, we can count the cows we saw. Yeah. They say there's like 1,000 cows on the island, I think, total, or less than 1,000.
But everybody owns one.
But it's,
there's no herds.
So
you see them tied up in little, just in the jungle. You'll just see a cow tied up to a tree.
And they're not self-sustaining. They import everything. So they consume everything that they can get, and then they import everything else. So there's not much economy.
And the road system is falling apart. All the rain came down. You still are able to get around the island, but barely. There are places where you're driving along the side and the road is just gone, and you're driving as close as you can to the wall because you're like, oh man.
Was it like 70,000 at one point, and then it was down to 50?
So many people.
What
about
they thought.
20,000.
They don't even know, really.
Yeah, they really don't have a good census right now, but they figure about 20,000 people have left the island for other islands because there's just no way to sustain life there.
They say 50 people were not accounted for, washed out to sea, or they didn't indicate that they found many bodies.
Yeah, not a lot of people died.
Few people got crushed. They had those, but most people disappeared.
So the first thing, on the first day that we got there, then they asked us to come. They had put together, they had radioed out across the island, and they asked for pastors from all over the island to come and meet us, and meet with another group called Samaritan's Purse. Many of you have heard of Samaritan's Purse, and they're doing a yeoman's work down there. What they're doing is to be applauded and allotted. They are doing some amazing things. So this was the first church building we got to meet in, and this guy, the pastor of this church, kind of had it all together. He's not a dummy at all, and he had his church building kind of put back together, and they were there to help other pastors. And so all of these pastors filled this room, and I'll let you guys talk about who these people are. Tony, you want to talk about Sister Tina there?
This is Sister Tina. She was been there about 30 years, 28 years. Very knowledgeable, knows the island, which I think anyone being there for 28 years would have a good grasp. I think she's really valuable as far as connections, and Jared's worked a lot with her, and it was helpful to meet her. And she got this kind of thing advertised on the radio. Yep. And there was 80 pastors, and several pastors that I heard talking to each other and let us know that they have never seen that on this island. From all the different religions, all the different churches, they all came together for this meeting. So to me, that spoke out quite a bit, and getting people to basically share their needs. And, we met with Cameron the last day, and he got a lot of materials, and whatever he's got left over, he could share with another church. So it's good that there's that communication, because a lot of people are hoarding stuff. A lot of people are stealing materials, and it's going to go on for a while. So that was Miss Tina, or Tina on the island.
Sister Tina. Go ahead. Who else? Were you? Heidi?
Haley.
Haley.
There we go. Haley. She was from Samaritan's Purse, one of the two young ladies that were, I guess this is their portion of the ministry, and they were doing a lot of legwork, checking information, plotting, planning, graphing, putting it into the computer so that they can actually reference needs and share with other groups. And then her counterpart, Kristen, isn't there. And obviously our Straya friend, Jared, who was our
Mr. Jared?
taxi driver. He was a great help and a great guide, great guy, working hard, and he's overwhelmed still. He's actually from New Zealand.
That was we wrote him hard about being from Australia.
The second you shook his hand.
The second.
First thing, like, we got to the airport, and I shook his hand, and I just said, "Man, Jared, you sound like an Australian." And his eyes lit up, and he was just he didn't know what to say. He was so offended he didn't know how to answer me.
And the fact that he was offended, we thought was cool, so we never
laughed,
let up.
And we said, "So why are you offended?" And it went on from there, and we had a great time with it. And he's just a great guy. He loves
Pray for that guy.
He loves
Pray
the
for
Lord,
Jared.
but he is busy. He has way more than he can handle
32
right
years
now.
old. He's given his life to Marine Reach and missions, and he is doing a great job there. Just a side note to this is Haley there. These girls are over there working hard. They got a staff of about 20, and they're looking for help. And I did mention that to Creed, and once he got a look at her, he is.
You got a blonde and a brunette.
He has totally announced his willingness to go and find out what he could do to help. So, just pointing that out. All right, moving on. So these were the pastors that came, and they filled this room, and they were very eager. I will say that they were. They looked like people who had been hit by a hurricane. They didn't know how to help their people. They just needed encouragement. It was a very somber kind of presence when they got there. But I'll say I didn't leave them that way. Fair enough? I got a chance to encourage them, and they got excited, and they are excited to know us and want us there in any capacity we could come. These folks are really the real deal. They are some really genuine folks. And I want to introduce you to some of them. They would stand up and they would ask questions, and they were very sincere. They do have grocery stores on the island. We did stop at the local grocery and got some Folgers coffee, and Jared is quite the character. And so
He doesn't get out much.
he doesn't get out much. He was really happy to have some people that were willing to sink to his level. All right. Tony, you want to talk about these guys?
Yeah, these were two guys that we met at a Baptist church. So they recently had some teams from the U.S., was it Virginia?
Yep.
Somewhere. And they put this roof on for them. And what was the guy's name on the left? I really like
Don't even try. I don't remember.
Randy?
Reiki.
And just talking to them, they both love Jesus, and it was great just listening to their story. And we were excited after we left there. And honestly, those are the type of people we want to connect with. And we thought about it, and they've got quite a few churches they're connected with in the States. And they had supplies, they had people, and we kind of just. I feel like we passed a little bit on that because they've got support, they've got help, but those are the type of guys we were looking for that need to help with these projects on this island, and it was neat to see their love.
They liked us. They were eager. They were excited. They were very skilled. The guy on the far right is an electrician. This guy is kind of a jack of all trades on the left, and he's construction and masonry, and he was eager to join with us, and whatever we ask for, he will do. And they were just eager to be a part of their community. So what came out of that pastors meeting is we met with a few pastors. I'll kind of speed things up a little bit here. We met with a few pastors. Leroy, this is Pastor Leroy's church. Basically, what they would like us to do is come down and remove this roof and build them another one. They do a soup kitchen. They're in the heart of the drug community in Roseau. They do soup kitchens. They work with people. They're always loving on people. But they lost their ability to do that. They lost their soup kitchen. They lost their basketball court that's inside here. They worship in here. And this roof is just gone. You can see that's Pastor Leroy and his wife standing there with us with Sister Tina. And you can just see the metal is gone. And now the ocean is just that wall where the red chairs are. The ocean's literally 50 feet on the other side of that wall. And so they caught a brunt. But this roof could easily be rebuilt. And it is one of the first projects that we want to go down there and take anybody who wants to go with us to do. And put a roof back on this church building. And build them a kitchen back, a full-on commercial kitchen. Leave them in a better way than they were before the hurricane, so that they can get out there and get back to ministering to people that have needs and getting back to what they do well. And I can tell you, these guys, they love Jesus. Their hearts are amazing. They really are. This is kind of a lady that we kind of just met at this conference he went to. We ended up going to some different conferences. They're just now, 6 months after the hurricane, they're just now meeting with people. Engineers Without Borders and some other organizations are there, and they're just now getting together with these people on the island and explaining to them how to build a house. It's taken them 6 months just to get their heads around this. And so they're starting to have these meetings and starting to explain how to put your house back together. You'll see up here, these guys are talking. There's a sign up here that they're teaching them, build it back better, 24 gauge steels, don't nail it, screw it. And they're learning to screw things together instead of nail them together. These things just came apart because of the screws. It was a mess. And so these guys would meet with these people. This was one of the very first meetings they had on the island. We got to have dinner with this gentleman right here, Jim. He is from Canada. He is with Engineers Without Borders. Anything about him and what they're doing, guys, that you fellas wanted to share?
I guess he was the only one on the island for the company as well, for the organization. He was willing to work with almost anyone and help them, whether it was small houses or big structures or
Good education.
good.
So I think he's got like 4 months. I think he's going to be there. He had another partner that got sick, had to go back. Was it Israel Aid, another
Israel,
smaller company? So
no,
people,
Israel is actually
But as far as there,
from Israel itself. They have the budget of the Israeli government. They were
So they
saying
have-
Israel Aid it's kind of like our Red Cross, except theirs is run by their government.
I don't know how big their presence was on the island. They had several people that Jared met. Samaritan's Purse is going to be there.
Samaritan's Purse was there 24 hours after the hurricane. They've got 20 people on the ground. They have a full-time staff. They're not raising support. They're paid to be there. This is their job for the next 5 to whatever years. Those kids are there. That young lady, Haley, her team is there. They've set up office buildings, and they are bringing in people. Their biggest struggle, they're having a hard time getting supplies and people. They need people. They can supply it if you'll show up and help them. They're just having a hard time because you can't get there from here. Difficult to
Mainly
get there.
skilled labor.
Yeah. And they'll take neck down people. If you've got, say, if you were to take these guys with you and then 10 of us were to go with them, they're very open to that. You don't have to be a carpenter if you can take orders and run a screw gun or willing to do those kinds of things. They're open to those kinds of things. But yes, there's these NGOs, these non-governmental agencies like Jim is with Engineers Without Borders. They're there. They're on the island, staying long periods of time, just shifting people in and out in some cases. This guy is really cool. This is another pastor we got to meet. This is Pastor Bernard. His wife works for the government. She's actually pretty high up in the government. We love meeting guys like this. He pretty much was a guy that had it all together. They meet in this building, though. They were down in Portsmouth. And we went in there, and it was great just to meet guys like this because we walked up and said, Pastor, what are your needs? And, these guys could grab anything. They could say, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. And they didn't do that. This guy looked at us and said, look, we meet in here. We've got 100+ people that meet in this room, in this building. But as you can see, the windows don't open. He said, we have other needs, but he said, really the biggest thing that you guys could do for us is we need a generator. He said, because if you look up high, there's air conditioner units up there. And he said, we have no power, and we don't know if we'll get that in the next year or two. And so when we have church and people come, they sit in here, and they come and they are hot, but they will come and they will sit, but there's no air moving. And he said, if we could just get a generator, and the four of us stepped right. We said, what's a generator cost? He said, I need a 12,000 watt generator. I said, how much is it? He said, $1,100. We said, done. So we're sending him a generator. So they're just simple things. I mean, these are the kinds of needs we can kind of meet, but we want to see them delivered. So this guy, after the hurricane, they put together kind of a praise and worship time. Now, this is where our praise and worship team needs to get excited, right? Any of you guys that love that kind of thing. They came together, and they said, you know what? We're just not going to let the devil have victory on our island. And so this was he taught us and told us about one of the coolest things that I just went, are you kidding me? They went down and decided in their capital, they were going to go down and go down to the docks in this big area, and they kind of advertised it just a little bit, he said, and they were going to have a praise and worship night. They were just going to take their band, they were going to set up, and they were just going to get their church to come down there. And they invited the community to come, and they expected 300 people, and over 2,000 people showed up. And the government pitched in and gave money and said, do this. And they were walking around, and they were thinking, wow, we don't have security for this. And the police were there, and they said, we're your security. And the police showed up, and we're the security. And then what he told us, we said, well, how is the government here relating to all this faith stuff? And they're like, they love it. They've always loved it. They support us. We can do anything in our country we want. And the government is 100% behind us. And I went, you're kidding. You are kidding. I'm like, no, whatever we want, we get. They'll help us. Absolutely help us. And so I said, well, are you going to do another one of those? And he goes, yeah, we're doing another one this summer. And he goes, you guys want to come? I was like, yeah, we want to come. And he's like, we could have our praise team join with their praise team. They're expecting double, maybe, that amount of people to come this year. And they'd like to let me speak at this thing. And it's going to be this awesome event in their capital. It's not going to be a gay march. It's not going to be a protest march. Right in their capital city, promoted by their government, it's going to be a Jesus march where their country's coming together. I thought that was amazing. And he's like, yeah, anybody in your praise and worship band, team, singers, bring them. We want them to be here. We want them to help us. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll tell June there are no bed bugs on the island, and she can come. So this is, so then we left there immediately, and we went over and we met this man. This is BJ. And BJ told us his story. This is inside his church building. And this was really a safe house. This really worked out well for them, a hurricane shelter. But he didn't get to be in it. And I'm going to let him share it. We're going to tell his story just a little bit real quickly here. But their church actually fared, their building and their chairs and everything fared very well. The only thing, Donnie, there was a request from you to look into that. See that amp? I'll show you that picture later. Donnie, we need you to find them an amp. That's the only thing that got affected by water, and their amp doesn't work, and they need a new amp. And so all of their sound doesn't work right now because they don't have an amp. So if anybody here tonight would like to contribute to the purchase of an amp, we'd love for you to be a part of that. We'd love to give Donnie permission to get that together. They get Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon and ship it right to them. It's amazing. You can't get anything. You can't get ships to come in there with anything, but you can. You buy something on Amazon, it shows up the next day. It's crazy. It's like, why don't you guys order screws? And they're like, really? Can you do that? I'm like, yes. So they say Amazon shows up the next day. So if you buy it. So we need to, if you want to contribute tonight to help purchase this, they'd love to know that our church pitched in and did that. But we got to know Benji a little bit. And so I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to let him share just a brief part of what he shared with us. This is where his house was. And they took us up there, and basically he has 6 kids and his wife, and we had to walk, what do you say, a quarter mile to get over to where his house is. There's no road to his house. You see that shed behind him, behind Tony? Basically the house that we're standing on that slab, maybe 20 by 20. His wife and his 6 kids lived in this house, and it was built about like that shed right there. That's what he's living in, serving these people as their pastor. And it was not a good thing. And he owns this property above that garden, and we have projected as one of our projects is to go back and build this pastor a home. What just happened? Sorry. Build him a home right above Tony's head here, right up in this green area. He would like us to come build him a home for him, his wife, and he. This is an amazing guy, loves the Lord, and I want to see if I can quickly play for you an excerpt of his testimony. They were in their house, and he shared with us the story of how they survived. At first they were told it was a Category 1, maybe a 2, and then right at the last minute they heard it was 3 to 4 and had no idea that it was really a 5 or a 7. And they were in their house, and the house disappeared all around them, just poof, gone. Lost their roof very quickly. They had hours to go on this, and they were beginning to get frightened. He said it was the first time that his older son, he was walking around, and he said, Dad, my son looked at me and said, Dad, I've never seen you afraid before. And he said, well, we're in trouble. And but then he took courage, and I want to show you this part, just this real quick testimony of what he shared with us. He shared with us quite a bit, but let me see if I can. Nope, wrong thing, blew that in the wrong place. Hold on. You can see the house around us. It's gone. There's nothing there. It's just the slab. Is it really not going to let me do this? There we go.
All plywood and everything.
All right, turn that up.
Jesus Christ. I got up, I said, God, my roof is gone. The walls of my house is gone, but you are my strength and my shield. And I said, God,
you turn
we
it up?
believe you, we trust you, you are faithful. You have never failed us, you will never fail us. Then I turned to Maria, I said, Maria, you have nothing over us. That's
That was Maria.
He's talking to the hurricane.
Over us. Our times are in God's hand. He determines our end, not you. You have nothing over us. I say, you shall live and not die and declare the works of the Lord. I said, my assignment in this country is not finished. God is not finished with me yet. My assignment is not finished, so there's nothing you can do. So after I made that statement, I say, as my Lord taught me, so I rebuke you, Maria. I rebuke you. I rebuke your strength and your power over me. And I decree to you peace over my family. And that was it. Then I just started trusting the Lord. I stood there trying to keep that door open now, because the wind was coming from the north, going to the southern direction of the country. And there was this door right here with a small partition, but there was this door that was here. I shoved the door open, and the wind keep on just slamming the door back in. Now, the reason why I keep the door open is because I wanted to make sure that the wind have access to flow through, so that the partition would not have as much pressure on it. You know what I mean? So I kept the door open. Then I push the door open, the door keep on. So I took one of those settees, one of those chairs, and I put the chairs to chock the door. The wind keep on banging and banging the door, and the chair just keep coming back in, coming back in. I'm like, geez. After doing that 3 times, there was a three-piece settee. This is the largest of the chair, very heavy. It was over on this side. Now, it was on the eastern side. And the wind is blowing from the north to the south. And this chair is on the eastern side. I saw the large portion of this settee, 3-piece settee, just lifted. came over to the west, chucked the door, and that was it. Just came and rest by the next single city that he just chucked it right there. And that was it. It never moved. The door never moved again. I'm like, whoa, angels are here. You know, because I felt in my heart that this is just not natural. If the wind is blowing from the north to the south, then the chair should not be moving from the east to the west. It should be blowing away. We've had this big stuff on the other side you see over there. That was a bookshelf we've had across here. Bookshelf was across here. Imagine myself along with my children was over here. And this bookshelf lifted from here and folded itself over there. And nothing scratched us, nothing touched us. Just lifted, came over us, as if the Lord just formed a shield around us. Nothing could have touched us.
This guy's faith and his heart, he's worth building a house for. Because this guy can't, he needs a place for his wife and his children so that he can go help his people. And our mission and our goal that we are set on is to help the pastors so that they can help their people. And I know as a pastor, and we talked about this, if my wife and my children are not protected and okay, I can't be here for you or I can't be here for anybody else. Helping this man so that he can have a place to safely put his wife and children so that he can go out and bless and help others build their homes and build their hearts, it's worth doing. So there was us there at his home, and we left there, and we met this man. His name is Billy Bannis. He's on the other side of the island. This was their church building, gone. They have a tent on it right now, but the slab was all that's left. It just removed this entire church structure. And so they have no place to meet. And we determined that this would be a good project to go back and help these guys and rebuild a church building for them on the other side of the island. So the goal was to go to the four corners of the island and to pick a pastor or a church building and to say, we want to get involved in helping you guys so that you can help others. And so these guys are praying for us as we come and we kind of decide what our approach is to come back and help them. The last one I'll show you, this was I just lost her name. Marilyn. And Marilyn and her husband were another church. This is one that we can get involved in right away. His Pastor Cameron, and that's the Cameron to the right there with his wife Marilyn, and their church building. What they needed was the inside of their building. They lost everything on the inside. The rafters and everything are okay. They just really need a team to come back and kind of put up the sheetrock and do some work on the roof. It's not a lot here, but they can't do it themselves, and they need help. They need people to come and help them just re-sheetrock that room and get them in the dry again was something they asked for. So in the end, we spent a lot of time praying. We ended up here at this restaurant. We went back and we prayed over those things, and we trust that the Lord would encourage us in the right directions for what to do for these guys, how to bless them, how to make a difference on this island. We are Marine Reach maybe can come up maybe with $1 million. That won't scratch the surface here. It just won't. The costs are 3 times. To build that man a house that's going to be 30 by 40 maybe, we're looking at what? You're going to have to put that up in your mouth.
It's like 80,000, wasn't it?
Maybe $80,000 to $100,000. Just to build him it's just how expensive it is. Plus, it's got to be done up on this hill, which is extremely hard. Lot of work and planning that has to go into that. So I love these guys. I will tell you, if you've not done missions or if you're interested in missions, this is a great way. I know that the four of us got into each other's lives. The time we had to talk, the time we had to cry together, literally, the time that we had to encourage one another. There were tears out of all the eyes of all of us here as we looked at this and talked about our lives and their lives. And there were times when our hearts were truly broken together as men over this. But it is a beautiful island. We got to have some good fun. These guys relaxed a lot. This is the way Ray rode around most of the time, chilling in the back of the van.
That's not true.
And, just seeing Dave with his head in Tony's lap was pretty normal. We had a good time running around, the Three Stooges there. Standing around in Portsmouth, drinking a lot of tea and timing their drinks together. They became good friends. We felt like we were on vacation. Those two pretended they were on a date, and the sunset and the ocean in the background. It was beautiful to be there. That's what the island looks like when it's just normal, right? It's a beautiful place to go. It's a beautiful place to be. We got to go out on the last day. They took us, the place we stayed, took us out snorkeling for an hour, and so we got to get out in the water, and they have some coral there. We got to kind of swim around on that. It's a beautiful island. These people are very gracious. How was the service there, guys, with those folks taking care of us? Were they not amazing? They were amazing.
Especially at the resort there, the ladies were phenomenal. The one lady remembered that I couldn't have mayonnaise on my hamburger like a day or two later.
They care about people. They're just so glad to have you come, to be there, to be their friends on their island. They love their island. That's Pete with his feet up, enjoying the sunset. And that's kind of the end of our little ride here. That was us, and that's what we did, and that's kind of how we hung out. And we made it back to the airport, and then we're back here with you guys. And Dominica is a really cool little place. It's a very unfamiliar place with the rest of the world. And as Wade wisely asked, what do they have? What is producing for them? Nothing. And so, what are your questions? Any last questions? Yeah, I see Carrie. What is the crime like, guys? Tell them.
The cops don't even carry guns. They do have crime, but there's still a different world over there. Unfortunately, we spend a little time at the Policia station, and I was amazed that I didn't see any weapons. They didn't have batons. They didn't have stun guns. They didn't have firearms. I didn't see anything on any of them at the police station. I don't even know if they had firearms in their vehicles. We never got to really look in a vehicle, but I didn't see any firearms anywhere.
You don't feel threatened? You don't feel like if you walk around at night you're going to be in any trouble? You don't feel like we didn't even carry our passports with us. I mean, we had them locked up in our rooms. We didn't feel like we just had to walk around and, we had to expose our papers at any time. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels very safe. Would I take my kids there? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's very safe in that regard. Real short story is the lady at the place that we had the bed bugs. When she found out we were leaving, she was very unhappy that we were leaving, and she felt like we owed her the money whether we were staying or not. And so she kind of made a spectacle of it to the point that she was laying down behind the van, wouldn't let us drive away, all kinds of stuff. She it got pretty intense, but at the end of it is we just kind of realized these people don't have anything. So the money that she had planned to receive meant a lot to her, and she counted. I guess she'd probably come to depend on it, and yet we couldn't afford to pay both places, so we were kind of in a bad way with that. So, good questions. Anybody else? Yeah. It's a UK. Yeah, it's a very proper English.
Proper English with some French mixed in occasionally.
Little Belgium.
Yeah, a little Belgium, a little bit of everything, but and a little Jamaican. You'll get that. Hey, Mon, kind of thing going, you know. A lot of Rastas walking around. We met Gregory. Dave and I met Gregory. And nice guy, but walks up and he just starts talking to you. Very, very Rasta. So, yep. They can be hard to understand. They speak a little fast and they don't, you know, and you're like, what? You know, they talk it and they've got that King's English kind of going, and so you're really listening hard at times. Other questions? Yes, they deal in Eastern Caribbean. They call it EC, Eastern Caribbean currency, and it is about 2.6 to 1. They would tell you, you'd eat dinner and they'd go, that's,
400.
they'd say, that's $400. What? Oh, wait, no, okay. We get to divide that by 2.6.
Just about every place took U.S. money, so
Yeah.
cash. So
But not every place. That's why we kind of dropped off some things. We ended up at this place where we're at here, and we didn't have any. We didn't have any internet. They didn't have any electricity. Even though you see lights, they were running a big generator. So they kept their power on through generation, but they fed us well. They took very good care of us. Yeah. Who's they? What do you mean by they? The government, the locals, or the Christians? I don't know that I think their hope is at this moment, I would say their hope is just to rebuild. They have so much devastation in front of them that their hope is that supplies will arrive and I will rebuild my home and I will live here. They live there. I mean, they make it work. But I don't think, from a government perspective, that's just, government's government. What those guys are, the government is really taking care of infrastructure, electricity, plumbing, roads, schools, government structures, all of that. The people really are having to take care of their house and their church buildings. And that's kind of on them. Everything else the government's trying to get their heads around, but they don't have any money. They just don't have any money. The government doesn't have it. And so China is in there in a big way with a lot of money, trying to help out. And but the struggle at this point is their medical system is very good. In fact, Marine Reach is really a medical ship that has a hospital basically on it, and a dentist office and an ophthalmology office and all these things, and they can do all this amazing stuff, but the island doesn't really need that. It's sort of a weird deal because they go and they talk to the minister of medical there, and he's been very obstinate. He's just pushed them away, saying we kind of don't. Just really don't, they weren't, most places where Marine Reach shows up, people go, wow, really, you got all that? And they're like, so? Because they have socialized medicine, and they have doctors on the island. Those doctors want to work. So they're getting their hospitals and their medical stuff back up, and those doctors are kind of back to work doing their thing. And so they have Ross, the one thing, we did sort of skip that. Down in Portsmouth, that's probably a big thing to skip. 40% of the income of the island is Ross University, and Ross University is a medical school. So if you're in America and you can't really get through medically as a nurse or a doctor to go to a school here, you can go to Ross University, and they kind of are in all over the Caribbean islands, and they offer a schooling where you can go to school and do all of that, and then you can come back here and take your tests in the States. Roughly 50% we heard 50% of the people who do that actually pass their medical exams and become doctors in the United States. The rest of them can't pass them in the States and do them somewhere else. So it's kind of a low level medical school. I don't know what you really call it, but they're on the island, and they have this big university there, and it's in Portsmouth. And all these students, tons of students go there. And they've got all this housing around there. They got all these condos and places to sleep and apartments and all that. Well, they're all gone right now. They had to move out. They left the island. And they bought a cruise ship, and all of the medical school now is on this cruise ship. Now they're coming back there. That's where you got your medical degree, isn't it, Joe? Cruising around the Caribbean. They moved it onto a cruise ship. They're trying to rebuild the school, and they're moving back there next year, maybe in 2019, and hope to rebuild that. So they're all really waiting for that to all come back, because that was 40% of the island economy. So that's a big deal to them. So that's some of their hope, is that Ross University will come back. So those are good questions. What else? I'll close with this. When we think about missions, we're obviously a small church, numbers-wise. But we are a big church when it comes to our hearts, when it comes to what we can do. This is one of the most giving churches I've ever been a part of. And these people, they need help. But here's what I told the guys the whole time. It's not about them. It has nothing to do with them. This has nothing to do with those people. We cannot really go help them. You go down there and you could buy a generator for an air conditioner, and you can make a little bit of a difference, and it'll make a difference to that one. But as far as impacting that island, that's not something we can do. It's not something really Marine Reach can do. But what it does impact is it impacts you. It impacts you. God wants to work in your life. He wants to work in your heart. He's chasing you. God doesn't need you. He doesn't need you to go there. He wants you to draw near to Him. He wants to speak into your life and your heart, and He wants obedience from us, personally. And whatever He's speaking to your heart, and whatever He's saying to you in regards to this, you need to do that. And if it's never go, then don't go, because He's not drawing you there. If you're interested, there's going to be a lot more things coming up. We'll be talking about that, then go. If money is something you can give, then give. But it's not about them. They're going to survive whether Summit Church or Marine Reach ever gets involved. God is going to take care of them. You saw that pastor say that. God is my protection. He is my shield. He didn't say, Scott, you are my protection and my shield. Thank God you guys showed up. He didn't say that. He's not counting on us. He's counting on His king, and we better be counting on ours. We have 98% of our population here in Summit County needs Jesus. They're trying to reach their population. We should be reaching ours. There are people in this community who need help. And Jesus said, unless you're willing to deal in your Jerusalem first, you have no business in the uttermost parts of the world. If you won't get out on the big red bus this summer, and you won't be here, and you won't go around and find ways to do ministry in your own community, whatever God's showing you in your neighborhood, if you're not willing to pour into that, you have no business doing this. First you're Jerusalem, then you're Judea, then you're Samaria, and then the uttermost parts of the world. But let me tell you something, guys. The uttermost parts of the world will send you back here with a new heart for your Jerusalem. It's worth it. This guy and this lady right here, they blow me away with the things that they have done in Haiti. Joe's nonprofit down there and the heart that he has for those people. I know that they're involved. Kathy, Joe, your family, your kids. You know, I can look around this room. I can keep going. I know that all of you, this man right here spends his months and days and stuff down in a prison down in Buena Vista. Mike does. Loving up on people in a jail ministry. All of you guys are involved in ministry. I know that. I don't know what God's calling you to, but get involved in it. Isaiah 6:8. You guys are all very familiar with the passage. It says, then I heard the Lord asking, whom shall I send as a messenger to the people? And who will go for us? Isaiah said, here I am. Send me. We all know, we've probably sermon taught on that before, when Isaiah said, here am I, he wasn't talking about his physical location going, hey God, I'm over here. What he was saying is, I'm available. I'm available. Whatever you want to do, I'm available. Whatever's on my calendar, it just got cleared because I'm available. That's what Isaiah was saying. God, whatever I had planned, it's off table. What you have planned is what I want to do. Here I am. Send me. I'm available. And that may not be to Dominica. Tomorrow it starts with just going out to the places that you live and you love. These guys need help only because, these pastors need help only because if we can get them on their feet, they are committed to reaching the people in their island, in their community. We have to be committed to reaching the people on our island, in our community. So wherever it is, guys, we've got to go give them heaven. This was an exciting opportunity. I was blessed to get to go with these guys. These are amazing, amazing men. Their hearts for these people, the way they viewed things, the way that they approach things, their willingness to go back now that they see the need, their approaches, their willingness to give up time and effort in their lives blows me away. These three men are godly men, and I present them to you as such. I love these guys, and you are missing out. If you want to go down there with us, when we go back, and I will be making that known. We don't know the answers to a lot of your questions right now, like when are we going to go, when are we going to start, all those things. All we know is hurricane season starts again June 1st. And we've got some work to do to discover what's next. And so that's kind of where we are at this point. I'm going back. I know that. Because I want to go back this summer for sure, because I want to be a part of that festival. And I'd love to take a lot of you with me to go celebrate with them. All right? Any other questions? All right, I'm going to let you guys go down. Have a seat real quick. One other thing that I need to tell you guys about. Yeah, you can clap. Thanks. These guys did great. Thanks for listening. That was an unusual service. It's whenever the mission, you do things like that, it's hard to explain. It's hard to get you on the island with us to feel what we felt. I understand that. But thanks for being patient and listening. We have a lot to digest. We have a meeting this Wednesday with the leaders of Marine Reach. Pray for that meeting. We're going to meet here in our office for a few hours with them. They're going to come up and spend some time with us, and we're going to debrief. We're trying to help Marine Reach get their head around what to do on this island. That may turn into some trips to New Zealand as well, down to Vanuatu, doing some work in the country of Vanuatu on the other side of the world. So there's some exciting things as a church that hopefully we're all going to be able to get involved in as you want to and make available to get out and go see people so that we come back here with renewed hearts for our people. That's what that's about. Speaking of that, then, let me close you out with this. Those that don't know, we met a couple weeks ago with leadership, and I think most people know by now, but if you don't, I want to talk about it as a church. We are in the process of looking for a youth pastor and a children's minister, and we are excited about that. We got maybe one or two resumes that have come in, and we're going to be looking at those. We're looking to bring them on board. What we've decided to do, and we're letting you guys know, is that what we've decided to do is we are not, obviously I raised my support. We're still funded to be here. The church is not able to necessarily pick most of my salary. And so how do we do something like that when you're such a small church? So the approach that we have is to ask a couple to come here the same way that we came here, my wife and I came here, and to say, Lord, do you want us to be here, and raise our own support? Tina and I raised our support, and we came here. We started Summit Church, and things have been rolling ever since, and it's been awesome. Our lives are here. We're looking for a couple that want to make their lives here, live here, be here, do life with us. And we're asking, what we said is we can't pay you. You'll have to raise your own support the same as we did. But when we came here, some people offered us some help by saying we can give you a place to live. We basically pay for your place to live, give you money for that. And so we voted, not voted, that's the wrong word. I just said that out loud, didn't I? We do not vote here. We talked and discussed and came to an agreement among leadership that we wanted to do that, and that we needed to raise $36,000. to be able to commit to that for 2 years. And 2 years of about $3,000. We said a couple or a person, or if you're here tonight and you would like to be a part of that venture, whatever you can give to help be a part of that, to help bring them in, that will give them housing for 2 years. And then they would have to go out and raise the rest of their support to the tune of about $3,000 to $5,000 a month to just come here and do what Tina and I did. We looked at it and said, you know what? We did it. Why can't somebody else do it? And so we want that. We don't want to, that's just the way we're looking at it. So, wanted to open that up real quick. I know we got a lot going here tonight. We're a little long. We're going to be a little long. And that's okay. Because we've been up since 7 o'clock yesterday morning. Do you have any questions about that? I know I just kind of threw that out there real fast. But does anybody have any questions about that particular thing? We're trying to raise that money, that $36,000, so that we can make that happen as soon as possible. And we've already put if you will, we're not really calling it a job description because we're not looking at it as a job. We're looking at it as a life opportunity. But we've put that out there. If you know anybody that might be interested, a couple that's out there that would want to come and work with our children and our youth, please see Stacy tonight, and she'll get that information to you. If you know somebody, she can tell you how to get that or tell you where to find it, where to send them. So if you'll see Miss Stacy, she can help you with that. But we're looking for that, and we're going to try to get that done before we get to summer so that they're on the ground working with us by summer. And that's kind of where we're kind of going with that. So kind of a lot snuck up on us real quick here. Any questions about any of that? Okay, God's got a lot going on in our church. Next Sunday is Palm Sunday. Show up, be excited. Bring a friend. Bring somebody with you, because the next Sunday is Easter. And I promise on Easter Sunday I will bring the gospel. I will play it out there as plain as it can be. And if you have somebody that needs to know Jesus, I would love to introduce them. If you would be courageous enough to invite your friend or somebody to come, let's put it out there. Let's love up on them. Let's tell them about our Savior and our King. Next Sunday's Palm Sunday. Bring somebody, and we're going to have a celebration in here next Sunday night. And we got a lot ahead of us, Summit Church, and I'm excited about that. So I love you all. We're going to sing out. We're going to sing one more? Nope, we're not going to sing one more. So we're going to pray. Yes. Kumbaya. Here we go. All right. I'm not singing. All right. I love you guys. I know tonight was a little different, a little fast, a little odd, but I hope you were blessed and encouraged. The trick is this, is go out there and give the world heaven. That's what our world needs. They need heaven. And I can tell you this, when I went over there, they brought a lot more heaven to me than I'm sure I ever brought to them. Those people are amazing. Pray for them. Pray for the people in the Caribbean, not just Dominica, all over the Caribbean who need God to fall fresh on them. Lord, we ask you tonight, fall fresh. Spirit of God, fall fresh. We need you. We are so in need of you. We need who you are to show up and be our strength and our guide. Lord, I just look out and I see our community and the desperate need for people to know Jesus in this community. How people turn their back on him. How easily they turn to the things of this world, the marijuana and the drugs and the things that are so free now, easy to get, and we've just made it okay in our country. And we should be so ashamed. And yet as the church, God, you've called us to rise up and go stand in the face of the enemy and say, you cannot have our country. You cannot have our land. I think of BJ looking at Maria and saying, in the name of Jesus, you have no power over my family. No power over my island. Our work is not done here. And God, we cry out in the name of Jesus tonight, and we say, Lord, make it so. Satan, you have no power over Summit County. This is our land. This is our island. And those are our people. And help us to burn with a passion, Father, for the people outside these walls that are in so desperate need of you, for changed lives, for help, for a hug, for someone to say they care. It's the same on that island as it is here, God. Help us to see it. People just need someone to hug them and say, I'm here for you, and I care. God, help us to be those people. Help us to go make a difference on our island, Summit County, Colorado. And Lord, I pray for the people then of Dominica. Thank you for the blessing that they have been to us. Lord, I pray for their island as they've asked me to. I pray for their people, their government, to stay open and receptive to the desires of the people there, and that is to know God. And Lord, they may have lost everything physically, but their hearts are after you, God, and fill their hearts. Help them to proclaim the gospel of Jesus all over their island, and that their island would be changed. Lord, I pray that they would have supplies and the money needed to rebuild, protection from hurricanes, protection from wind and rain that they will experience here soon. Love those people and teach us to love them the way you do. God, we love you. Jesus, we thank you and we praise you. You are our God, and we are your people. Amen. Go give them heaven. Have a great week. Go tell somebody about Jesus, even if you have to use some words, okay? All right? Have fun. Have a great week. Love you all.